So I just want to come on here spontaneously, unfiltered, in my spontaneous appearance. I just had quite a profound insight. I think I actually need to make it so that I don't see myself on the screen. But what am I looking at? Just a cam? Just a black screen? What are we looking at, right? Isn't that an interesting question to ask in general? And who's looking? It's really something that may seem so obvious or apparent, but it's actually not. I was just contemplating on the nature of behavior, actually the nature of human being, I want to say, the way of being. And for me, there are two, and there are more, but what I'm looking at the moment are two categories or two different aspects of being and doing. One is reactive and the other one is creative. Reactive is the unconscious aspect, is where we are not aware of what is driving our being, thoughts, actions, movement, all sorts of movement, be it inner or outer. And then the creative aspect, which is being aware and doing something from a place of awareness and being conscious, being not even intentional, because intention can also just be skewed by unconscious aspects, right? So I can have an intention, but that doesn't mean that it's good or that it's helpful or that it will lead to something good. So what is it? And I feel like every thought, every behavior, every human action is either driven by the reactive nature or the creative nature. And the reactive nature would mean in this context that it's to some degree compensatory, compulsive. So anything that I think, anything that I do is either connected to who I truly am in an essential way, true to my human nature, or it's not. And we could look at everything as inclusive, the things that I do unconsciously, or the negative aspects, the shadows, all of that. So I'm not trying to make anything wrong or say it's not good, but when we think of it from an evolutionary perspective or just well-being, not suffering, then it becomes relevant to look at what drives me, what is behind my thoughts, behind my actions, behind my emotions. And I feel that this is just so relevant because as long as I'm not conscious about what drives me, why I'm saying this, why I'm doing this, why I'm reacting in a certain way, I will do it in order to get away from something or to avoid something. And it's all related to feeling. So if I don't want to feel something, I will do something about it. And it's not like I'm redirecting this shark when I'm swimming with shark. I'm redirecting this shark so it wouldn't bite me. That's a different thing. That's a conscious action. That's an interaction of an awareness-based nature, creative actually. So I would not get into something unwholesome, right? And then there is the other aspect where it's me getting into the water and being all tight and, just kind of being afraid even though there is nothing. Then that is based on my own projection and my own imagination that is coming from a reactive place. And so this is just an example of being occupied by a feeling, by an emotion, fear, which I think is very, very fundamental to our unconscious aspects, which drives a lot of our reactions. And then there's something to potentially to uncover, to discover, to unpack, so that we can become aware of what is actually underneath, what is actually behind us, or behind our motivation, thoughts, actions. So we could say the intention behind the intention. I could say, like, I'm just saying this because I want you to know that what you're doing is wrong. So I want to protect you from your own unconscious, but it could also be that I don't want to see you doing that because it makes me feel uncomfortable. And if I'm not aware of my own tendency to manipulate others because I want them to change, I want them to not trigger my discomfort, to not poke me, push me towards what I don't want to feel, I don't want to see about myself, I will find myself continuously avoiding and actually manipulating. It can be subtle, can be very subtle, can be very, very drastic, to not experience what I fear. And I really feel that this is just so much of what drives human behavior, is this constant tendency, this constant avoidance of feeling what we're feeling and being confronted with what's actually there. So we distract ourselves and we indulge in addictions, and addictions can have many forms. Thoughts can be material, eating, and I feel like the more I am actually in touch with my emotions, with what I am really, really feeling in the moment, the lesser I need to get away from it, the lesser I need to distract myself or change my feeling. So the lesser I will have addictive tendencies, because I am actually in touch with what's truly going on for me, meaning that I also start to identify what my real needs are. And from what I'm learning is that a lot of needs actually come from unfulfilled needs from the past, from childhood. And therefore my emotions connected to that may not even be real emotions that are arising right now as like a natural response to what I'm experiencing, but more so as an energetic imprint from the past, something that has not been fully processed and that's somewhat stored in my system and still stuck there, because it has never become conscious, it has never been fully integrated, whatever experience there was. And so a lot of the reactive nature, if not all, comes from that. Like, I don't want to address the pain and the old emotions that are related to past trauma or past experiences and the imprints that are there. So the only way is to become so acutely attuned to what's really happening in my body and what's really happening within my emotional being, and how this is all connected: my thoughts, my mind, my body, my feeling, and feeling as a momentary thing, and then emotions as a quality of consciousness, a particular form, a particular quality of experience and expression, or inner being. It may not always be an expression, but in the moment it comes. Like in the moment I feel an emotion, that is actually already an expression, but it may not be enough. So to really learn to fully express authentically, naturally, is part of this, because if I do not allow myself to have the full experience of what is true for me in this moment, I will always have to substitute. I will always have to change, modify, actually manipulate myself, and I think this is what addiction is. It's actually a manipulation of my own being, so that I am not confronted with what is really there. So it's like trying to get away from something that is uncomfortable. And this is so profound because it's continuous, because it's like happening all the time, and it like drives a huge part of society and communities and people's behavior in general, in all areas of life. So it's so profound to become aware of the quality of consciousness that is behind everything we do, everything we think, so that we can make that connection, and we are not fractured or fragmented in our consciousness, which I do think is inevitable based on where we are right now, right? So it's more like, how can we unify all these different seemingly contradictory aspects of ourselves, and how can we become aware of the tension between the unconscious and the conscious, and the reactive nature and the creative nature, to really learn to identify the quality of experience, the quality of expression, and what is actually happening versus what I think or what I would like it to be, right? This sort of trying to control reality, trying to change something that actually does not need to be changed, trying to manipulate others where there is no need to change others. It's really my experience and my responsibility. So this is super profound, and I'm looking at this through a very genuine lens as much as I can, to arrive at myself and ask myself, like, who is this? Who has this experience? Or what aspect of me is that? What am I really feeling here? And how can I be true to that, so I don't have to get away from something? I don't have to react and lose that actual connection, because that is what's happening. So if I'm not in touch with my emotions, if I'm not in touch with what's really going on inside of me, and that is the default state, that's what we've been trained into. So to reclaim, to own all that and make it so that I can be with that is the task at hand, I feel. And it's a profound task. It's just a life's work, And I think it's absolutely necessary as part of our evolution, because if we are not true to ourselves, how can we live a good life? How can we live on this planet and with others in harmony? If we are not in harmony with what we feel and what's really going on inside. And so that's just absolutely essential. And this is basically what I felt today, that there was this tension between the reaction and the creation, the creative nature, and that the tendency is to opt out in a way, and to not wanting to confront what's actually there, because it's so uncomfortable, and because it's scary, because it needs to face something that we in the past that I have not been able to cope with or to deal with. So I created tendencies and strategies to manipulate myself, to get away from that, to find another way to be okay, to be safe, and also others, and manipulate others so that they can be my allies in abandoning myself, those aspects that I can't own. So this is really huge, and it may sound very abstract, but it actually comes down to very, very practical, everyday things that are just so important, because that is literally like being myself and being connected to my true self, versus being disconnected and and continuing to be fragmented and reactive. So perhaps this makes sense to you, perhaps this is somehow useful, and also I wanted to do this as a documentation for myself. Thanks for watching, and please share your thoughts and experiences if you feel like.